So welcome to the off-season module, and in particular, welcome to your reverse dieting assessment. In this session, we are going to look at a 5-step method from module 1, which is going to determine your calories, your macronutrients, the length in which you are going to be reverse dieting, or what some might label as the off-season, and as a whole, look at split design as well to bring up weaker muscle groups. So step number 1, it always starts with a body fat assessment. You actually need to determine your current body fat level. Now, if you've watched previous modules, you'll know I typically don't recommend reverse dieting, bulking, entering the off season, however you want to label it. If you are more than 15% body fat, if you're more than 15% body fat, your goal is to cut. However, if you are less than 15% body fat, for the majority of men, they're anywhere between 8 to 15% before they even think about reverse dieting. Well, great. You can actually look at your body fat percentage and decide where your calories should be, where your macronutrients should be. Are there specific muscle groups which are lagging? And that's also going to allow you to assess your readiness for an off-season phase, because if you are still, let's say, 12% body fat and you know that you could get leaner and you want to get leaner, well, guess what? I would do that first, because if you do get lean the first time around, we're talking like proper lean, not just, oh, you've shaved a few kilos off your frame. The off-season and reverse dieting, your response in particular, the body's response, but also your mental response dramatically improves, because you can actually see in real time the visual changes in your body composition. And that's why step 1 always starts with a body fat assessment. From there, we can actually establish the correct rate of calorie progression. Of course, if you are 8% body fat, you are probably going to have higher calories compared to someone who is 12% body fat, just because they still have a little bit of body fat, perhaps around their lower abdomen or their lower back, or depending on where they hold body fat. Therefore, their ability to increase their overall calories is not as much as the individual who's 8%. Because if we're pushing 8%, it's likely that you don't have high levels of body fat. So your response to increases in calories, well, your body's going to soak that up. But that's only transient increases in calories. That's not to say that your calories start super, super high, because once again, there are things that need to be established and things that need to be in place in order for you to consume those high amount of calories. Things like step targets, calorie target, cardio targets, as well as calorie targets, and also your training program design. Number 2, a health assessment. I always recommend you get blood work done. Look at digestion, look at recovery, look at specific biomarkers. We want to assess upwards of 52 biomarkers. Anything less than that, generally speaking, they just look at sort of the basics. But we just want to get a generalization of your overall health status to see if there are biomarkers which are outside their range, inside their range, or whether they are supra physiological. So they are way above the range that they need to be in. From there, you can then determine the recovery and the growth capacity. So how many days you're going to be resting, but also the macronutrients and the micronutrients, things like protein for muscle growth and repair, and then micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, omega-3s, all that good stuff, just to help with inflammatory response. That will then dictate your supplementation as well. So a lot of these steps go into the design of your training, your nutrition, your recovery. Step 3, that's when we look at training assessment. So you can actually review your current training program. You can assess exercise selection, intensity, volume, execution. And from there, you can actually identify injury history, mobility limitations, and cardio demands. So what I mean by that is, are there exercises that you click with? Are there exercises where you can get enough stimulus to generate muscle growth? Are there exercises which you know that you need to improve on? And of course, they are staple in your training program design. Majority of men can't do a stiff leg deadlift or a deadlift, a hinge at the hip. It's a highly skillful movement. So the risk to reward ratio really comes down to, okay, what is the overall goal of that program design? Is it a case you just want to keep them in because they're fun, but your glutes and your hamstrings, they are dominant muscle groups compared to, let's say, your quadriceps? Well, yeah, you could still keep it in, but then that would affect your overall volume and rep range compared to allocating more volume onto lagging muscle groups like your quads. Step number 4, your nutrition assessment. You can review your current calorie intake, macros, food quality, and meal structure. What needs to change? Are there things that you don't typically get on with? We are humans of nature. So what I mean by that is hundreds of thousands of years ago, when we were hunters and gatherers, our basic instinct was to survive. And when we were hunters, we'd kill things like cattle, and we would just pretty much have a carnivore diet, right? And then we'd sort of get our micros from like berries and fruits. That's not to say you need to go on a carnivore diet, by the way. But understand that over time, as nutrition has adapted, we like certain things. We also dislike certain things because we have the opportunity of preference, so to say. So you get to choose what to eat and what to drink on a daily basis. And the saying is, you are what you eat. So if there are things that are not included in your diet, let's say you have low omegas, omega-3, and your blood's come back and, you know, inflammatory markers are all over the place. Well, guess what? You can include some fish in your diet. Yeah. Once again, we need to assess dietary adherence and digestion. So it's all good in saying, you know, I'm going to have that particular food in my diet because of X, but adherence and consistency, as well as how your body digests it, is significantly more important for that individual, just based on preference, motivation, and discipline. If you weigh up the pros and cons and say, well, this has significantly more of X, or let's say it's healthier compared to Y, if we think things like cereal. I typically don't recommend cereal. But if you are someone that's more adherent, having cereal post-workout, just because it's fast digesting and your body can absorb it that little bit quicker, and it's going to impact your adherence because it's convenient, then absolutely, that can be included. But also understand that, okay, it might not be the best for you in terms of like sugar. Determine your nutritional strategy based on your current condition and the off-season phase. So how lean are you? Once again, you know, what is your body fat percentage? That will dictate your calories, your macros, and also your micros, as well as the length in which you are going to be doing the off-season. Step 5, lifestyle, psychology, assessment. You need to assess your stress levels. You need to assess your environment, your sleep quality, your routine, and your daily output. In my opinion, if those are not nailed, steps 1 to 4 really don't matter. And the reason I say that is a lot of our ability to take action will depend on energy levels. So of course, if all of your energy is going into stressful things, then you're less likely to exercise. You're less likely to stick to your dietary plan. Your sleep quality significantly reduces. Your routine becomes sporadic because there's 101 things that you're trying to focus on. And then your daily output starts to reduce. But guess what? Every single individual that I speak to are exposed to stress. They have a stressful life. They have a lot going on. But yes, we do need to fix that in order to thrive in steps 1 to 4. But if that's not fixed, you are going to struggle. If it's fixed, you're going to crush it. So we can break the off-season down into sort of 3 sections there. We got the category, we've got the assessment, and then we got the actions, okay? On the left-hand side, we got health risk, training, nutrition, lifestyle, and psychology. We're going to go through maybe 2 or 3. So let's go with health risk. So let's say the individual, hypothetically speaking, he has a high health risk, okay, because he competes at a high level. let's say they are a bodybuilder. They've got an elevation in low density lipoprotein cholesterol. Blood pressure and A1C has started to rise. And he also has gastrointestinal distension. Let's just say stress within the gastrointestinal system. From there, the action that we should be taking before even looking at training, nutrition, lifestyle, psychology is blood. We need to get lab work done. From there, you could even add in a statin at a baseline dosing just to improve things like blood pressure once you get those bloods back. Now, you're probably wondering, well, they're a bodybuilder though. If you look at your lifestyle as a whole and you are chronically stressed, I would still recommend getting a blood test. If we use that as an example, lifestyle, you're self-employed. Let's say you run a business. You really struggle with work-life balance at the moment. You're married. You've got kids. You want to go into the off season. You want to reverse diet. The best thing that you can do right now is looking at daily routine. Looking at a calendar. Having a success list. Being clear with your communication with your spouse on expectations and your goals and your aspirations. As long as they are aligned with your family's goals as well. Because of course, if you get healthy and you start to build some muscle and you start to be goal orientated, much like you are with business, it's going to improve your family's life as well. Looking at training, split design. So let's say you've got a lagging body part. You've got super lean. You've dropped a significant amount of body fat. But now your quads and your chest, they're not as big. You were carrying so much fat around them that you thought it was muscle. So the goal here is actually to redirect volume towards those muscle groups. So your split design would prioritize that compared to other muscle groups, things like back and hamstrings. So the action is you train chest and quads 2 times a week. And you're going to send in video reviews of all of these lifts. There's just a general understanding of sort of the actions that are taken based on the assessment. You should never design something until you've gone through those 5-step assessment and actually broken down, are there any issues that you need to fix prior to reverse dieting? 9 times out of 10, it's hormones. Because when you diet for a long period of time, hormones start to become a little bit skewed just because steps are high, food is low, cardio is high, training is high, stress is high. So make sure you implement that. So post-fat loss, the biggest question that we should be asking ourselves is, are you recovered? Genuinely, are you recovered? Or are you just motivated to get into the off-season and reverse diet because you got a little bit more food? Your recovery phase after a contest prep, a photo shoot prep, a fat loss prep, it sets the foundation for a productive and sustainable off-season. Before you even think about pushing food up, increasing your training output, or entering a true growth phase, your body needs to recover. It needs to chill out from the stress that's accumulated during your prep. And most men rush this. They want to get in. They want to start eating more food. It's dangerous. You will damage yourself if you do this. And you will accumulate significantly more body fat if you just start eating aimlessly as well. This has to be a prerequisite before the first phase of the off-season. So if we actually take a look at the benefits of proper recovery, it's reduced systemic fatigue, lower focus on food and cravings, improved recovery capacity as well. Because if you're rushing from a fat loss phase straight into the off-season, your body has not healed. Better training performance and output, improved health markers and internal function, greater ability to progress longer. This is a lifelong transformation, not just a short-term quick fix, and how you transition between these phases will dictate your rate of progression.